gave him a thumbs up. Welcome everyone to Planning Board meeting. Reading the wrong paper, sorry. Please note this meeting is being made available to the public through an audio recording, which will be used to ensure an accurate record of proceedings produced in the minutes of the meeting. All comments made in open session will be recorded. Board member Jim Nunes is participating via remote participation in accordance with the requirements of 940 CMR 29.10 via speakerphone due to geographical distance. All votes during this meeting will be made via roll call. Okay. Our first order of business tonight is a public hearing for proposed site plan SP1-24, 345 Washington Street, LLC. The applicant proposes to construct the construction of a 3,830 square foot addition. The addition is proposed to include a portion with a full foundation and enclosed walls, and another portion that will only include a roof overhang with no walls or enclosure. The enclosed portion of the addition is intended to be 40 by 55 of storage space, and the other 28 by 55 roofed portion will also be for parking vehicles and storage. The exterior of the site will continue to be utilized for parking and landscape. The exterior of the addition will match the style of existing building. There will be 67 exterior parking spaces left after the addition covers up 7 spaces. 52 are required. Okay.
Great, thank you. I'm Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, representing the applicant for the site plan approval. Bruce Sylvester is the applicant in the audience here. As you read into the opening, the project is for the construction of an addition to an existing commercial use. YES Electrical is the owner of the property. How long have you been there, Bruce?
6 years.
6 years, okay.
Sure.
So currently in the rear of the property, they're storing some of their materials in temporary storage containers. They want to get rid of the temporary storage containers and move their supplies indoors. There's no change in use proposed. There's no additional employees proposed. They simply want to construct a building where they can put supplies, wire, electric, lights, etc. A portion of it is fully enclosed, and a portion of it is an overhang where you can back in and get under the overhang, load up, and exit. As we also indicated, he doesn't have advanced architectural plans at this time, but the intent is to match the look of the building. Wants to drop the roof just a touch or match the same roof lines. He's still working on how he wants to do that. The intent right now is to not go higher. Either way, the building's only 22 feet high. It's not even close to going over any kind of zoning threshold. So I'm sure you've seen it, drove by it probably on the way here. They basically want to match the same look here, but it's going to be behind the existing building. So when you're on Washington Street, you probably won't even see it unless you're really looking for it. So the site's in the Business B district. It's a commercial building. It's allowed use for light industry, including fabrication, assembly, finishing, packaging. So it matches exactly what is allowed. We did a complete parking analysis for the 2 buildings, for the various square footages and tenants, for this building and this building. And as you read into the opening, there's plenty of parking. The utilities are gonna, since we're not adding employees or anything, the septic system is sized adequately. Again, it's just warehouses and no increase in employees. Septic systems are 15 gallons per day per person. The drainage system was constructed in an order of conditions, I think 2 years ago, when the certificate of compliance was issued recently. We did provide an electrical lighting plan. Basically, this is going to do wall packs, a couple of wall packs, 2 on the front, 1 on the back. The light does not cast over the property lines. Really, it's a pretty simple plan. It took a while to put all your data together, and because that's what the requirements require. And we have a few waivers we requested. We requested a waiver on the traffic study, landscape plan. It's not going to be any impact to the landscape. It's pretty well landscaped in the front. The drainage design, as I said, we permitted that through the Conservation Commission recently. This building is actually located over existing pavement, so there's no increase in runoff. We're going to go pavement to roof. We're going to grab water from the downspouts off the roof and pipe it over to the drainage system that's located in this area here. Requesting a waiver on putting curbing in on all the edges. We are proposing a Cape Cod berm along the back here to match the rest of it, so any water on the parking lot is going to be captured by that Cape Cod berm and routed to the basin as designed. And we requested a waiver on the full architectural plan. Pretty straightforward application. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have them.
Anyone on the board have any questions?
Are you going before Historical Commission on this? You have to, because of your
That is a good question. We are in the historical district. Maybe.
Yeah. I think you have to.
Okay.
They love us over there.
I don't have any questions. Anyone have any questions? I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and you've got a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission as well, so that's going to be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
I would just like to know, I see they don't meet the current front yard setback. If they had to, say if Washington Street was widened, if they had to meet the current setback, how many parking spaces would they lose? Or rather, if they lost a few parking spaces because Washington Street might be widened down the road, would they still meet all the parking requirements? It looks like they probably would.
So what do we, so total parking, because we wound up at 63 after relocating the dumpsters. So I think we have 11 extras, I'll call them extras, but these are very convenient parking spaces for these businesses here.
Mhm.
To have people park all the way over here and access this would be pretty inconvenient for those businesses. Our preference would be to retain those if at all possible.
But if you had to give them up if they widened the road,
If they widen
You
the
still
road, if
have
they
it.
took them, yeah.
Yeah.
Boost, we have 11. It wouldn't be great, but
you're 11 over now.
yes.
Okay, so the answer would be yes.
I didn't
Okay,
get
so
it
we're
right.
not making the existing situation worse in any way.
Right.
Okay, good.
Okay,
That was my only question.
Great.
all right. I see. Deb, did you have any comments or anything that you wanted to go over or make sure are addressed?
Yeah, quickly, I did, sorry it was late, but we were trying to close the loop on this quickly so you guys could have everything this evening. Mention all of the waivers. Let's see, they addressed the parking. I just wanted to see what originally the existing parking layout wasn't fully defined, and now they have it defined, and number count is addressed. They are showing where the new dumpsters are going to go in this corner here. So it's hidden, which is nice that they have a fence around this, where the existing septic system is in that landscape area, so there's fencing that screens the dumpsters as well as the addition. I had two things. One is that the registry block should be put on all 3 sheets, so that when they're recorded, they can be recorded fine. I think that could be conditioned that just a clean set gets provided. And then, it might be a question for you, I don't 100% know the answer, but they've added one additional accessible space, which looks reasonable to me. It's got an access aisle. My question is, the 2 existing are, one is located here with no dedicated access aisle, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think this one may, but whether or not that's compliant, I don't know if doing the addition triggers them to make them compliant, or whether they can just leave them existing. And I guess I just wanted to throw that, just to make sure that everybody doesn't get something thrown at them later on down the line. Whether making those fully compliant. Size-wise, I think they're fine. It's really the access aisle that looks to be missing if they were to meet the ADA standards.
If that were to come up as an issue, I think we could stripe an adjacent parking space, since we do have 11 extras. I'm not sure about the 2% in all directions or anything, but it's a pretty flat site, so I think we'd be able to come up with something for that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're gonna more likely need that parking, because it's more retail oriented.
Correct.
So yeah, probably should, because that's where you're gonna, that parking will be used there. I would think.
Yeah.
I think I agree on that one too.
Well, it's better for you also, because you'll be compliant, so.
Yep.
Right. And maybe have someone call you out on it
Yeah.
later on. And that's it.
That's
I think
it?
it was pretty straightforward.
straightforward.
Like,
Yeah.
in the summary, it is impervious to impervious, so there's no stormwater requirements. They're showing the septic. We added a note just so that they would verify. I guess there was no records for the water service for here. I just kind of wanted to know where all the utilities were, just so that if someone's digging, they know they're not gonna rip one up. So it might be helpful just to know where that is, and moving forward, I'm sure it's in the front, so can't imagine it being an issue with the addition.
Okay,
That's it.
Thank you.
all right. Any public, no, any public comments? No. Oh, wait, there's no one here. They're all at home watching us, I know, our fans.
Staying warm, right?
Yes, exactly. Any other questions or concerns?
No, I think we can close the public hearing.
Okay, is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Okay, roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye?
Heather? Scott?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Is there anything anyone would like to discuss?
Well, we can vote the waivers to approve the waivers.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve the waivers as presented in the plan and as reviewed by Merrill.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Heather?
Yes.
Scott?
Aye.
And myself? Aye. So moved. Okay,
And then Sue, you'll have the conditions ready for us for the next meeting to sign off on?
Yes, I will.
And you've got 21 days to issue it?
Our next meeting is April 22nd.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to chase us to sign it then.
yes, that we won't make that in 21, more than 21 days.
Runs into an issue, let us know. Right, we can send a letter to increase the days.
We just-
Oh, okay.
We just all need to just come in here and
Yeah,
sign.
we'll
We
just
don't
get
live
it
in town,
signed.
it shouldn't be
If
that
it becomes an
hard.
issue, we'll work with it.
I thought you were gonna say track them down individually.
So I have a question, so do you want to vote now, or do you want to vote on April 22nd with the draft decision?
Well, we
That's where I got confused.
Well, we
Sorry.
voted to issue a condition, so we've already voted to approve it.
Okay,
So
Oh.
Heather's not gonna be here on the 22nd.
No.
Okay.
Right.
So I think if we can vote and if we could have it, she's leaving Thursday, so if we can have it ready before Thursday so she can sign it.
What, this Thursday?
Actually, what I'll do is I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for SP 1-24, 345 Washington Street, and to issue conditions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Heather?
Yes.
Scott?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So moved. We're pretty efficient this evening, I won't lie here. We just approved it, right?
Yeah, we're all
So
good.
we're good?
I just wanna make sure that I have the conditions, like one that had a registry block. We talked about the accessible spaces, but I don't know if we really landed on the strategy on that. You want us to stripe the
Stripe
adjacent
one.
ones? Okay.
Yeah, stripe an adjacent spot.
Yep. Okay.
And I think the other one in the other far corner has striping next to it, I just don't know if it's at least 5 feet.
Okay.
That would be what you'd wanna just double check. I think it's probably okay.
Yep, the other one, since it's a full space, will be
Yeah.
van size.
Yep.
So, okay, we'll double check that, and we'll go talk to historical as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Good luck. Thank you. Okay. Up next, we have administrative matters.
How about minutes?
We do have our minutes from our last meeting. Thanks, Deb. So do I have a motion on the minutes from March 4th from anyone?
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from Monday, March 4th, 2024, as presented.
Do I have a second? Oh, yes. Okay, roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Heather?
Yes.
Scott?
Aye.
And myself? Aye. So moved. All right, then, these are draft action plans from master plan. So did you, this,
It's in the packet.
okay. So I wanted to bring up two issues from the master plan that we were, that we've been, since we had a light meeting, I thought it was a good time to start the conversation. For the length of a cul-de-sac, and the other one was for accessory dwelling units. We've been asked to look at to see if there are changes that we should be making to better serve the town as set forth in our master plan going forward. So the current, does anyone have a preference of what we'd like to do first?
Let's go to the length of a cul-de-sac. This is maybe a little work we can do ahead of time to kind of take a look at this.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure as to why that was put in the subdivision rules and regs. There were two things that came up that I believe, and maybe Jim has some better historical reference on this since he's been on the board longer. But I believe that the reason for that was means of egress to a subdivision for fire and public safety was one reason. And I think the other was preservation of open space. I don't, do you remember that, Jim?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Not so much preservation of open space, it was for safety and also just to promote, find a way to loop a road around so you don't have a whole bunch of roads just going nowhere, a dead end.
Well, from talking with various members in fire, that it's not really a safety issue. It's as long as there's a turnaround, but if it's a cul-de-sac, there is a turnaround, so that it's no different than any other road. You know, I know people have said in the past, like, well, what if a tree falls down across the road? Well, just whether it's 1,000 feet or 5 feet, like somebody, it could still, or 5,000 square linear feet, a tree could fall across any point, and what are you gonna do? The fire truck's gonna drive over somebody's lawn to get there. You know, that's what's gonna have to be done.
Also, there's, I believe there was numbers from the fire department, like once you go over, I forget what it is, 500 feet from your nearest hydrant, your insurance goes up because you've less access, guaranteed access. So that was kind of part of it.
Right.
You know, so if it does get blocked, well, now suddenly you don't have as good an access as you do if there's two ways to get there.
Well, would
So
North,
it's not a case of if a tree falls, it doesn't matter how long it is. It kind of does because you can drag fire hose over a certain distance and stuff like that.
Right, so wouldn't it make more sense though, just to have it, like, so many feet, like having more fire hydrants than limiting the access when we have a housing crisis?
Well, they'd still have to try and get a fire truck most of the way. So, you know, it's not reasonable to ask them to drive fire hose for a mile.
Right, but that doesn't make any
And stuff.
sense.
So, I mean, at some point, you kind of have to put a limit on there. But I guess we could go back and ask the fire department, what do they really think about all that?
Could we bring the fire department into the conversation?
So I think I understand both sides, right? There's a reasonable expectation that, like, if a tree falls down, there is gonna be immediate reaction from all parties to get that tree moved. I do understand that this was developed so that if a tree falls at the entrance to a one-access road, you don't all of a sudden have 300 homes that could potentially be, lost
Inaccessible.
access, inaccessible for the fire department. I don't know how old that is and whether, like I said,
You know,
if a tree falls
and
down,
it's-
there's gonna probably be a front end loader there, fire truck momentarily.
this is
Exactly.
probably at least 40 or 50 years old.
Yeah.
Right,
So, I mean, a lot of stuff has changed. We've got a lot of, more safety features built into new houses in a subdivision to prevent fires in the first place. We have cell phones, we've got, everything, a lot of stuff has changed. So it probably should be re-looked at.
right.
But, I mean, I don't think it should be gotten rid of and just be totally unlimited.
Right.
Agreed, I think I'm kind of with that.
okay.
I just think I think just increasing it from the, 1,000, because I know we allow, like, if somebody has a wetland crossing, because there's a lot of wetlands here in Pembroke, we tend to give them a wetland crossing, and the expense for a developer bringing in a road and where we need homes and 150 feet of frontage, like, you're really limiting the amount and where we need more development and we need more housing, even if we still made it, say, 2,000.
So I think that's where I was headed with, I didn't know the age of the law, meaning I think there also could be a reasonable increase without just making it limited, yes.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with all that.
All right.
I guess what I'm saying is let's come up with kind of some sort of scientific, logical approach to why we're making it X number of feet rather than just plucking a number out of the air.
Exactly. So that brings me to another piece of it that we might as well look at the same time. We should prepare an inventory of open space. I think we have plenty of resources to look at it and to see what build-out looks like. Because it could move us in a direction on what this number should be. But then, if you look at some of our neighboring communities like Kingston, they do allow for various square foot requirements for their residential zoning. So they'll have residential 80, residential 40, residential 20, and those zones can overlap. So we may want to take a look at where we are vis-a-vis build-out and just see what's out there and to see if we want to make any zoning changes in regard to that based on the master plan and some of the things that are in that. Just to consider where we may be able to, get a little bit more density, but it wouldn't feel that dense. I think that's what Kingston wanted to do with those 3 different zoning opportunities by square foot
Okay.
and be able to manage it.
So are you saying to like change our lot sizes?
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
question, we're talking
Okay.
about lot square footage.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes, yeah. So if you, well, they have 80, 40, and 20,000 square foot. So 20,000 square foot is half of the 40, which is a single acre, so it's a half acre lot. And then you would have differing requirements for frontage based on that as well.
Okay.
So if we're gonna look at,
That's kind of what I was proposing a couple of years back when I was talking about put smaller houses on smaller lots.
right,
You're winding up with the same number of square footage of house
right,
on a lot, but you had 4 1,000 square foot houses on, quarter acre lots versus 1 4,000 square foot house on a 1 acre lot.
yeah. Well, there's gonna be market factors that play into that.
Right.
I really don't think that pertains to the length of a dead-end street, though, because I don't think we're going to see a lot of people coming in trying to lengthen existing streets,
No,
or suddenly being able to propose a new subdivision road suddenly because that we've relaxed that requirement a bit.
well, yeah, I don't foresee it encouraging, because a lot of that, and this is another thing for a little bit of research, but a lot of that land that was limited because of the 1,000-foot rule has ended up either in conservation or town-owned,
Or it became landlocked
Yeah.
too.
or it became landlocked, yeah. So, I mean, there could be potential for some additional build-out if we change that. I'm not sure that's something we don't want. It may be something the town doesn't want, but we'd have to find out with whatever we propose.
Yeah, I'd start thinking about water line utility. I don't know if the water department has any, preference on whether there's a dead leg, right? When you run in a cul-de-sac, you just gotta, the house at the end is the only thing using the water at the end of that main. I don't know if that has any play in
It could. We should at least find out.
That's a good one. Check in with the water department
Yeah.
and see if there's any issues with that.
What preferences, yeah, if it makes no difference.
Or if it has
them,
to
they
become
just
part of a
flush
loop.
that.
But Jim,
Yeah.
your experience with,
Or if you extend a street, if the main needs to.
with
increase in
subdivisions
size.
on water line and looping,
Yep.
don't
We
that-
always, if it was a dead end, we would make them loop the same water line back unless they had some other route they could take.
right.
Okay. So how do we go
Does that
about
answer your question?
to, like, look at what's left, like, in town, what would make sense to start breaking up?
Well, we've got the master plan, which has, I think in some of their tables, broken out some of that. We've got the open space plan, which identifies town-owned properties versus conservation versus privately owned. Also, properties in chapter 61. I don't think there's a lot left, so we should seriously consider, what opportunities we make available to the folks who own it. And what we want to see.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a valid point. We can say whatever we want. It's only applicable in 2 instances, extending an existing cul-de-sac and/or somebody who has access to make
A new,
what we're discussing.
Right.
So they may very well be limited already, and we just gotta make sure what we allow is gonna allow for,
Yeah.
we have to limit it, because if there is an opportunity for somebody to make a, 5,000-foot cul-de-sac, that's the only thing we need to govern, if it's only that one instance.
And, this is asked for in the master plan, so it is an implementation
right.
thing, so. We could do it with, I hate to ask Sue to do this stuff, but I think there's a lot of resources out there that can be collected. We're not reinventing the wheel with that, because there's been master plans and open space plans and recreation plans that look at land use.
Is the open space plan on the town site or no?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
we have conditional approval from the state, so I think we put it up when we got the conditional approval.
Okay.
And then maybe we want a subcommittee of this board, you know, 3-person subcommittee of the board who wants to look at it and meet periodically, and often enough in a short period to get something done. So we're not doing it over 6 months, we're doing it over 3.
Right.
I know people's time is limited and we're all volunteers, so.
Right. These were just after we met, Andy, myself, and Stefan and Sue, we met as like a little subcommittee to go over some of the action plans. So these were 2 that I felt like when we talked about them, that we could kind of get ahead on and kind of check off the lists that were kind of easy. I think that would help with production, like what the state's wanting from us, as well as what our master plan is asking.
They're easy until you start diving into them.
Yeah.
Then they get a little bit more complex.
Yeah. But I figured it would give, where some of our meetings are a little light, it was a good time to get started on some of them.
And I think we should take a couple of them, you know, not a lot of them, because if you look at that implementation plan, it can be pretty overwhelming, but if we can take a couple of them, so I think you chose 2 pretty good ones, which is that limited subdivision road length and the ADU. So do you want to go to the ADU, talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So currently for the ADU, one thing that I know was brought up to me from the, that I heard in the building department, that we have the provision, like if somebody's building a new house, they can't put the in-law in then. Which, to me, that's just in today's, like especially with how we have to build now, to make somebody have to come back
Yeah,
and
'cause-
put it in later is just like wrong.
Well, the
Like,
HERS rating alone is gonna kill you.
it's gonna kill you. Like, come on. I mean, then you have to put in, like, to tie into the D-box for it, for the septic part of
Right.
it. It's just,
You'd have to
it's
get
just
another
wrong.
D-box.
Yeah. And you're asking them to re-excavate the land again.
And if you can't
to
put it
add
in when you build, you don't wanna spend more money on an extra D-box.
And
Yeah.
also, I mean, you have somebody who wants to build a house with the intent of having the in-law, and they could, have to come back and they could get denied or something that they're not gonna take that risk.
Right.
I would take
Exactly.
that risk if I'm gonna build a home, that's fine.
And even then,
End
when
the
they're
game.
engineering the lots, they can get the setbacks right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you're asking them to come back, like, to plan
Yeah.
for it. But you can't build it, but you can plan for it, and then you have to come back and do it. So I just feel like that part of it, that shouldn't be on there, like, period.
Jim, any
But that's
history
my
on that from you?
Personal
Attached, we're
opinion.
talking about it attached.
Not really. My view of that is that that right there, having to already be existing is definitely a problem. Also, having to be attached is a problem. That really cuts down your flexibility. I mean, there's a lot of the existing systems in town are now built to be 5-bedroom systems. The tank is, by code, has to be a 5-bedroom tank. If you were allowed to not have it be attached to the existing dwelling unit, it gives you so much more flexibility with grading and where you run utilities and everything else. And you can keep the rest of it. So that'd be real
Yeah.
simple to do. Just delete existing detached, and then delete everywhere it says attached, basically.
That's a good point.
I don't know, I worry about it.
So you're saying have detached in-laws on the same lot, so really having 2 dwellings on one lot?
Well, you'd have 2
But you
dwellings.
keeping the
Yeah.
square footage where we only allow 800 square feet. So yeah, you could have 2 dwellings, but we have on our houses that have, 40,000 square foot lots, there's plenty of room for 800 square feet.
Yeah, but you've got other
Or-
things.
Or if you have a detached garage,
How many cars do you allow? Does that fit in with our existing zoning on that? Who uses what? Who gets the right to do what?
Well, even accessibility, like if you have it detached and not a like shared driveway, like it is, the idea of this is that it's an in-law or family member, like mobility issues, like I would
well,
be
that was my
concerned-
next thing I wanted to bring up, is that it shouldn't have to be just family necessarily. Because what if
So
you
now
had it
we're
as
giving
family and your
every
elderly
home-
parent dies?
Yeah.
Now you can't put anybody in there forever? But if, like, and now you're aging and you have this unit and you want to stay in our town and you're, you know, elderly, and be able to have a tenant that, you know, even if it's a caregiver, to
Right.
subsidize that they can stay in their house and age in place.
Right.
You know, and by not allowing that, it's just, you know,
So is that not making every home a potentially two-family home in Pembroke? That with the possibility of being a two-family, I mean, because that's what it's changing it from an accessory
Yes.
dwelling unit to a two-family.
Yeah, except it wouldn't be exactly a two-family. You could.
But
look,
even if you
it depends
have-
on how you define it, right?
Two
If you-
families don't have to be equal space.
You could say it could-
Right.
Three families certainly is
it
an
can't
equal
be,
space.
Right.
the in-law could be, has to be, say, you could, it's 800 square feet, but we could also put a provision in there saying it can be, can't be exceed more than 50% of the main dwelling structure.
That sounds kind of high to me.
But if,
Well, I mean,
we
if you
have
have a
small
4,000
houses, so I'm saying, like, if you have, you know, and there's some ranches and stuff that, you know, only have 900 square feet.
Right.
And so if you put another 800 on there, now you did double size, and now you did make it, so if you made it, it can't exceed more than 50% of your existing livable,
It can only put 450 square feet in.
right, so,
Right,
you know, so
that's
then
not
you,
small.
but so then you would be making, because right now they could, if they put an in-law on, they could double their house.
But some of those houses are on lots, houses that small.
Right, but they still have the right
I
to
think
have
you
the
need to
in-law.
limit it to, you definitely need to limit it to existing conforming lots.
Yep.
You know, because we have a lot of the, 900 square foot units there on quarter acre, half acre. I think the intent here is if you've got a full acre, or maybe you have 2 or 3 acres, that then you relax this a little bit and say, okay, you can have an in-law unit there.
Okay, so saying existing conforming is allowed to have it detached?
Yes.
That makes sense?
So,
Yeah, well.
I think the attached or detached is a huge portion of this, right? Because attached is going to typically be family, and then the detached lends itself more to the non-family, so I think, I'm just saying, I don't know how that gets worked into the verbiage to prohibit it or steer in one direction or the other.
What I'm saying is, if it's new, it's no problem to build on an in-law onto a new building. But just because the way stuff is built and where windows are and garages are and stairs are and stuff like that, it can be very difficult to add on to an existing house.
Yeah, that one
Where
seems to make sense.
if you can go 10 feet away and start new, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
It's the next step from that I think needs a deeper dive
Yeah,
as to where that goes,
yeah.
good, bad, or ugly, or then
And
how
we
you
got-
limit either one.
Yeah, we've got to be very careful about unintended consequences.
Right, so that's why we're
That's-
having the
I think that-
discussion.
yeah.
You know, and that's they looking for us to lighten it up from the master plan, like, that's why they want us to look at it.
so even one of the existing ones is that it has to all be on one level, I think, in our existing zoning.
I don't
I don't
think it says
so.
anything about one level, but it had to be attached and it has to be
attached,
deeded.
And I think it can't be 2 levels, I think it can't be the first and second floor. Like loosening that up, people could have like, a bedroom, make a bedroom on the second floor. Like, for example, my house, I have the potential for living space over our garage and could have a bedroom there and living space on the first floor. This isn't our existing, is it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking that might be a way to lighten it up.
It would definitely give us a lot of very affordable units.
What do you say?
It would give us affordable units.
Quite a lot of them. Yeah, I mean they definitely fall under that category.
So is that falling, what you're talking about under 2A? But I guess I'm not reading it
I don't
that
know,
way.
maybe it's not, maybe I'm wrong. So the 50% is already in here?
Mm-hmm. And the 40,000 square feet,
Mm.
which covers existing conforming.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the units for persons who are related to the owner, occupants.
Yeah,
the
this may be,
existing-
maybe we're overthinking it a bit, because maybe that's already been done here.
Yeah.
But taking out
The new,
5D,
Mm-hmm. And remove the existing structure.
well, shall have been issued an occupancy permit at a point in time greater than 1 year prior to the request for special permit.
Right.
Now, I wonder why that's in there.
It was, sounds like to me like they were trying to limit people from actually doing it, but I think it doesn't make sense to have people come back after a year later and then have to put in the ADU. Like, if you're building a house to have your mother come live with you and you're like, wait, I can't put the, like, oh, Pembroke allows it, but, oh, wait, I gotta wait a year before I can do it. Like, that just turns people away.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of what we're not, what,
You're allowing somebody to build it for a non-family member that is instantly available to someone else. However, it's not deeded to them. It will always just be, you're just limiting that, right? It'll always just be what it is, which means it can be rented to anybody. You know, you're limiting the square footage and whatever and all that sort of thing. But then that's it. You always have that. You always have a home that's owned by one person or a lot, whatever, the whole property that can always be rented out.
maybe that's what it's getting at, is that they want to establish ownership of the home,
Correct, that it can't be.
so it can't
the
be
deeding is
condoed or, yeah.
correct.
That may be why that's in there.
And I think.
And that may have been a council thing. You should ask.
Right.
They may have wanted to say something like, you want to make sure that the house isn't co-owned.
Right, but yeah, and I think that makes sense.
by the,
That is what it'll always be. If you get rid of the in-law, the marriage, you know, if you get rid of the
Right.
relationship, then that's what it is. But I think if that's going to become more common and that is going to be what's in here, then I think Heather had some decent concerns about just making sure that, you know, the parking, you're limited by square footage and so on, which you think would hope self-govern that. However,
Well, so maybe
it
we,
may be prudent to add in some verbiage to that nature.
maybe it's also adding that having an accessory dwelling unit requires an additional off-street parking for that, you know, having that put in there so that way it's already accounted for. So you make sure you're saying, because we require 2 parking spots per house. So if you're putting an ADU in, it requires the 3rd parking spot.
Seems reasonable.
Right, so are you limited by how much you can have impervious in a residence based on anything? I'm not overly familiar with that, I think that's, what you just said makes sense. I think the concern would be,
Stormwater.
right, you just make this huge parking lot.
Well, and I
between
think
the two
that's
units.
even more reason why we should allow it when people are building a house, because that way we're making
goes through the
sure
review
all of that
process.
is being put in there, and we're not, like, you know, our lot coverage isn't being overdone. You're not going back and going to zoning and asking for a waiver or, you know, whatever it may be, to add it, where if you're doing it all the time of building, now you know everything is done properly.
But that would be covered by the lot coverage, wouldn't it? Allowed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the LCN,
Yeah,
but LCN is only for a new lot.
only a new lot.
Right.
That's,
So it's smarter to let them do it then than it is later. Because later on, they could go and meet the setbacks, It says they are allowed to do it by right, and you go and pull a permit,
But
and you're
maybe
done.
that's why they put it in.
What to,
Well, the lot coverage number may not have worked out when they built the house, but then when they come in later, they can do it without regard to the lot coverage number.
right,
I don't know, I'm just questioning that.
yes, so,
I mean, you find out pretty fast once, if you change it. I mean, we'll find out, but we have to feel comfortable with it. And again, I'm not sure whether that was something that maybe council had advised us to do.
okay.
But again, that doesn't mean we shouldn't question it and shouldn't,
Right.
You
The
know-
other thing we should ask is council is that she did bring up when she was here before, there are some, the state is trying to make changes on a lot of the ADU. So we should find out what they're trying. I know some of the legislation hasn't gone through yet, but if we know what they're trying to put up to the State House, at least it helps us from not having to do it again.
yeah. Well, there may be some model bylaws out there that we can take a look at that would help us with it. We're not opposed to stealing from other communities what they've done already and probably vetted,
If it makes sense and works.
yeah.
Can I go back to before when you were saying 50%?
Yep.
Or 800? So I think this reads 50% of the existing square footage and no more than 800.
Yeah.
So are you saying to go increase the 800?
Mm-mm.
Are you not?
No, I think it should be, I think the 800 square feet is a good size for, and I think we get bigger than that, you're causing problems.
Okay.
Because, my first apartment was 660 square feet, and my living room was huge, and I had a huge walk-in closet, you still had a good size
You could do a
living
lot with
space.
450 square feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, 800 square feet I think is
Okay.
good. I don't think it needs to be
thought you
anything
were
more.
suggesting
I think it
that you'd be
provides-
able to do 50%.
No.
Yeah, but I think that 800 provides tons of flexibility.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
Okay.
50% with a maximum of
Okay.
the 800.
Alright,
So
I
I didn't
misunderstood.
realize that it had the 50% on there, I guess I should read more carefully.
I get it now, sorry.
Sorry.
No?
Yeah, the secondary isn't bigger than the primary.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Yes.
We don't
Or
want
you're
these
even close
monster
to,
additions being put on that are bigger than the little ranch that it's
so you're
next to.
limiting.
Okay, as we're coming up on 8 o'clock, do you
Mm-hmm.
want to identify who we want to have sit on a subcommittee and kind of, because I don't think we're going to finish this here.
No, we're probably not.
Yeah. So at least we get some draft stuff to look at,
Okay.
so we could, move forward.
Well, I know you're always willing to be on it. And you're here. We just drag you upstairs to the,
I'd be willing to do it, yeah, but,
and would
but
either-
if other folks want to participate, I'm happy to sit that out.
Okay.
If we want more folks to participate, I don't want
Anyone?
to,
Bueller?
Yeah.
Bueller, no? Yes, Heather is,
Okay,
okay. Scott, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, no, I am, I'm less informed, so I'd be willing to do it with
I'm willing to as
some
well, but
guidance,
I
whatever, so.
don't wanna,
well, we don't want a quorum,
we don't want a quorum, so,
Oh, okay.
we just need to decide who wants to be on it.
I think you were the first three, so you can have it.
Well, do you want to do it?
I'm willing to assist in any way, but no, I don't
When
need
are
to
you
be
guys gonna start meeting?
tomorrow.
Yeah, because next week, Scott should do it.
Oh, right.
Oh, because you're gonna be away for a
Yeah.
month.
Couple of weeks.
Okay.
all right.
Are you available during the day sometimes, or no?
Not always, no. My current projects are in Andover and Cambridge.
Okay.
What time do you usually get back to Pembroke?
I can work from home maybe a day or two a week. If during the day, like Wednesday, like I could pick a day where I have less meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I could get back by 4-ish, 4:30, if I left at like 2:30.
I mean, I could stick around after 4:30 for an hour.
And I can make myself available.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can just fire myself for an hour.
that's kind of what I'm trying to do too. It's like, no one knows where I am anyway, so.
Mm-hmm.
We could just pick a day when I'm working from home, which is around the corner here, so.
All right, do you want Sue to kind of work with people to do that, to pick a good time?
That sounds good.
I hate to keep volunteering you.
She's like, okay, I got more stuff to do. Okay.
All right.
So just to circle back, so the cul-de-sac, we need to find out from water department, open space, fire department, and properties in chapter 61. The ADUs, we kind of have a good idea, and we'll work on that in the subcommittee.
Yeah, I think that's the shorter term, because I think there's a lot of model stuff out there too that we could steal from.
Yep.
I think the other's gonna require a lot more, data and research.
Yeah. But I think those are two that we, from our first meeting, to go over the master plan, action plan, were two that I thought we could get started with.
What do you want me to do as far as the cul-de-sac?
Oh, we'll see if we can get an inventory of land available for development. If it's in conservation, it's not. If it's town-owned, the town could sell it. If it's in chapter 61, the town has right of first refusal on purchasing it if it comes out of chapter land. And if
What is
it's,
61? Back taxes or something we can acquire
the town gets the right of first refusal, and
for any reason that somebody just put it,
if they come out, if they want to sell it
okay.
and take it out of chapter land. But they can also sell it and
Oh,
pay the
does-
back.
Does
then
chapter
pay-
61 mean that they're not paying taxes, but we get the first refusal to purchase it?
Yeah, and they
acquire it?
have to pay the back taxes if they don't, if the town doesn't purchase it.
Gotcha, okay.
And then there's private property.
And how do I find this out?
Well,
So the master plan just compiled all these maps.
I think the master plan's compiled a bunch of it, open space has a bunch of it, and then the assessor's office should be able to help as well.
Okay.
It's a big overlay. If somebody can overlay all those.
And we don't expect it, if it gets difficult, we'll
Yeah, no,
figure.
so I wouldn't say like you need to do that. I'm saying they all exist. Somebody needs to put them together, basically highlight what map means what, and then it's like a Venn diagram where they intersect is where you're gonna see the opportunity for the extension of existing cul-de-sac and/or the opportunity to put one in that's longer than X amount of feet.
Or to change our zoning to 20,000 square foot. What would that do? You wouldn't need to extend the cul-de-sac in that case. If you reduce frontage and square footage requirement, you do that
So that was
instead.
a different thing.
You do that instead of,
What about the 150-foot circle?
Well, you still need that, the fire department and everything's gonna.
No, the 100, because we require 150
for
foot
setbacks.
circle
Oh.
on the parcel.
Oh, in the middle.
In the middle, you have to have uplands where,
But that gives you room for septic, it gives you room for setbacks,
right, where, but if,
limits the square footage of the house.
it's more about the lots, because if you have that 150-foot circle, you can't,
I think the 150-foot circle is in the mix if you're looking at zoning.
right. Because I'm like, if you have the 80% uplands, why does the circle matter? If you have enough, if you have 80% and you meeting the lot requirements, the circle shouldn't even matter. I think that was just another, because you can fit a lot. A 150-foot circle to fit in the parcel is kind of,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
The other thing to look at when we do that as well is to look at the age-restricted cluster zoning, because we limit it to 30 acres or more. And if we get a good inventory of what's out there, we may take a look at some other parcels that are 25, 20, if they exist, and say, would we consider that there as well?
Okay.
Because, maybe it's gonna be a 5-house subdivision, but wouldn't it be nice to keep half of that land in open space? And I know it's age restricted, but still, okay, we're talking maybe townhomes instead of talking single-family houses. I mean, would we wanna see that? I mean, these are the kind of things we need to talk about.
Yep. It's a lot easier to meet the new HERS rating too, with townhomes.
Well, you're also maybe building homes that are more desirable because they're less to take care of.
Okay.
So, all right. Good, so
Okay.
we've got a path forward.
We've started the discussion.
All right, so I'll
Okay.
make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Yes.
Heather says yes, Scott,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Meeting adjourned.